wanted to kind of go back to where we were. We bring a little bit more closure to that by just talking about toxic beliefs that are kind of ingrained in our consciousness. And there's if you can turn to page 14, and just take a look at page 14. And these are just a sample of what we might call toxic beliefs. And when we say toxic beliefs that are undermining our happiness and underlining our ability to be present in the moment. And therefore, everything else that goes with that is also undermined. So I just want to go through some of them. Some of these may be not new to you. And this list could be more than 10. It could be 100. And so just get a little bit of discussion around this. We are not our brain. And we are not our mind. That we're something beyond both of those. The way I like to look at it is that the brain is like the TV set, and that receives the signals, or receives the programming, if you will, from that station that is programming, which we call, in this case, call the mind. So this brain is really like a facility that transmits the signals, but it's not the creator of the signals. So there's a difference, and it's an important understanding that we are not this limited physical brain and its cells. That mind, at least from an Eastern perspective, is much bigger than that. And takes it out of it, puts it in a whole different context. So there have been so many studies about the brain, but some of the latest research really tells us that there's a tremendous amount of redundancy in the physical brain. That you can eliminate like 70, 80, or 90% of the physical brain and you still operate and live perfectly normally. So it's obviously that's not the mind. Otherwise the mind, you'd be removing 90% of your mind. So the metaphor that works for me is that the brain really is the receiving station, like the TV. It's the mechanism by which we receive. And the mechanism has to work. Can't be in shabby condition. But it's not where the signals come from. It's not, the programming is not done in the TV. It's received from all the different stations, something. So mind from an Eastern point of view, and I think it's important to look at that, is there are levels and levels of mind. Right? There's a physical mind, but there's also what they call an astral mind and even a causal mind. Right? And that means that, in fact, we have this thing called mind is much, much bigger than we thought it was. Some of the Western psychologists, particularly Jung, kind of tapped into some of this because he also studied Eastern psychology. And he talked about the collective unconscious, right, which is that universal unconscious that we're all connected to. So in the same sense, if there's a universal unconscious, there's also a universal consciousness or universal mind that's connecting all minds. And that is a kind of a good paradigm to work from. You don't have to prove it, but it helps explain a lot of our experiences. We've already talked about the fact that we are not our thoughts, and that's an important realization to come to, because if you don't, every single thought that goes through your head, you assume is you, and we have so many thoughts that are completely extraneous to who we really are as personality. So we're choosing what we identify with, and this is important to understand, because we have that power to choose what we are going to identify with and what we're not going to identify with. almost all spiritual traditions, but now neuroscience is saying the same thing, basically states that you are the result of your thinking. Our perception of who we are, our beliefs, our personality, it all starts with thoughts. So one way to look at it is that actually what Buddha said in the Dhammapama, he said everything you are is the result of your thinking. Right out of the Dhammapama. My own teacher used to say that as you think, so you become. As you think, so you become. So the genesis of everything starts with examining our thoughts. Thoughts that continue to repeat themselves turn into habitual thinking. Habitual thinking creates emotions that are intimately tied up with that thinking process. Right? Immediately, there's a connection. So you have the thought, the emotion comes with it. When we continually feel and think in a certain way, we begin to talk that way too. We begin to express that. And that leads to then physical actions, which are the reflection of those thoughts, words, and deeds. When we continue to act in a certain way, we develop habits of acting. Those habits over time create character. And character over a period of time creates your personality. And your personality molds your destiny. So it all rolls back to our thinking process, that initial thinking process. And that's why we have to be so careful and so conscious of the thinking process. And that's why meditation is such a powerful tool, because it gets you in touch with that thinking process. 6, it says, what you see is you. Change the way you see things, and the way things and what you see changes. So it's important to understand that the thinking process it turns into the perception process. We see what we want to see. And quantum physics has gone a long way to try to deepen our understanding that there's really no such thing as an objective observer and the observed. And if you read any of the recent stuff on quantum physics, it's important to understand this, because traditionally we thought that there's such a thing as this objective observer who's observing things, and we have this thing called objective reality. And of course that's not really the case. The very act of observing changes what you see. So our perception of things is just a reflection of our way of thinking. And so a lot of times we get very attached to our way of seeing things as the only way of seeing things. And it's kind of like we're like overlooking a street, we have our own little balcony. And on this balcony, you see everything from your perspective of your balcony. And that's your view of the universe. And that balcony is based upon all of your previous thinking and so on and so forth. So in the same way, what we're all doing is we're seeing everything from the perspective of our past events, past experiences, which are coloring everything. So what we have to do then is take responsibility for what we're seeing. My own teacher said something very powerful, which shifted my whole attention away from the traditional views of reality as some fixed reality out there that everybody is seeing, and that we're all seeing the same thing. And of course, that's totally not true. And even in a weekend like this, everybody's going to go away with different things. Everyone's going to have a different perception of what went on. Everyone's going to remember different things and highlight different things. So our mind is not like a video camera that is recording everything. It picks and it chooses what it wants to remember according to past experiences. So we're creating our own reality on a moment-to-moment basis. And the reality you create is the reality that we have to live with. Another way to say the same thing is what you see is you. There is a higher state than that, and that's when we get through all of the clouds and all of the confusion, and we start to see things from another perspective which is not colored by our selfish agendas. Very hard to understand what that reality looks like. Because we become outside of our individual perspectives. But from a mystical point of view, it's like entering into another person and seeing everything through their lenses. And then understanding them through their own lenses. Because you can't understand it from your own lens, you have to understand it from somebody else's. You have to go inside their beingness. And that's what mindfulness tries to do. It tries to enter into the quality, the experience of the other person by not being judgmental. And allowing that person's experience to be yours temporarily. So that you can fully understand who they are. Without any judgment, and without any fear or anxiety. All of that to say that we have to examine our own belief systems and really see if those belief systems are really positive and helping us or whether they're undermining us. And to see what kind of toxic beliefs that we have in our own system that we need to get rid of. And they're subtle. And they're difficult to identify, but I mentioned a few on the next page if you look at, these are just some of them. They are in some ways similar to what you might call self-limiting beliefs, but they're also another category called toxic. So there's self-limiting, and then there's also the very just toxic belief systems that really undermine. And both of them are really detrimental, and both of them prevent us from creating an experience of life in the moment that is deep and profound and filled with joy and compassion. So I wanted to take a few moments and just allow us to just reflect a little bit in our own lives. This is a quick reflection for our 3 or 4 minutes on identifying some of those toxic beliefs in our own lives. And I'm just going to start by sharing one that, just to point us in a direction. We can go anywhere with this. One of the really toxic beliefs that in many ways undermines our happiness and is very much supported by society is that we have to be, quote, successful. Because nobody defines success for you, right? What is success? But we are very pushed and prodded by society to be successful. We want our kids to be successful. We want everybody successful. What is success? Right? Did we ever define what success was? Be successful, but what? What is success? So I saw on I think it was who was it? It was a friend of mine's website, who I have a great deal of respect for. He said, what we need in the world is not more successful people, but more compassionate people. You see what I'm saying? So the emphasis is on something that doesn't really have much meaning. We're pushing everybody to be successful, but what does success mean? Does it mean to be happy? What kind of happiness? Does it mean to be peaceful? Are we talking about momentary pleasures, right? So inadvertently, we're our own worst enemies, and we don't even know it. And why are we worried about what other people think about us? If you know who you are, does it matter if the whole world says that there's no such thing as the sun when you see the sun every day? You follow what I'm saying? So take a moment and just reflect on, and it could be anything at any level. The key thing is, how is it undermining the joy in our lives? How is it taking away? How is it stealing away those precious moments of joy from life? Because we, for some reason, we have set up these expectations about how life should be, right? Subtle, not so subtle. So I'll give you a little contemplative taste here. This is another selection. Okay, so I wanted to come back to where we left off now, and so there were two groups that presented, right? And there were two. Was it one group or two? One more group or two more groups that didn't present? So not that we have to, but if the other groups that didn't get to go, I think your group didn't go, and did the other group in the back? No. If you would like to share out what some of the success stories around healing, you're welcome to, so that we can kind of bring a conclusion to that. Would you like to go? Can you, or you've lost the thread of that conversation?
I think the thread has been lost.
Right. You want to, yes, no? You want to come back to that? You're good. Okay. I just.
A lot of it was the acceptance, I think.
Okay. Okay. I just wanted to give you a chance if you wanted to go back to that. Okay. So, and we can come back and we can take a look at some of those areas again as we're going forward. What I thought we'd do here is this. So I wanted to focus on, we kind of introduced this theme of half-heartedness, of not putting our full self into everything we do. And the challenge that we want to work on, that to be fully mindful, is that no matter what we do, we put our whole attention, our complete attention, into whatever the task, however small it is. So whether it's ironing, or horseback riding, or eating, that we put our whole attention into that task. And once and for all deal with this idea of what we call bifurcated attention. So one of the big challenges we all face, and it's getting worse, as you were mentioned, is that our attention is split in many ways. We don't know how to keep it in a one-pointed way. So one of the goals in order to be in that mindful state is to develop one-pointed attention. But to understand one-pointed attention, you have to understand what it isn't. And what it isn't is what we are already, which is a kind of bifurcated attention. And a bifurcated attention is what I call peripheral awareness, but no, not focused awareness. So peripheral awareness is that it's kind of like we're taking in a little bit of everything all the time, but with no specific focus. The analogy of one-pointed attention would be the sun is everywhere shining. It's everywhere around us. Feeling its warmth, we're seeing its light. But it doesn't have the power to burn in normal circumstances, let you stay out in the sun a very hot day and you're not dressed appropriately, etc. But if you were to take like a convex lens and allow the light of the sun to shine through it, it will take that peripheral light and focus it into like a laser. And that laser, you direct it to a piece of paper, it will actually start a fire. So that's the analogy, the difference between peripheral awareness and one-pointed awareness. Yeah. And so the exact opposite of multitasking, which is, so what we want to examine is where in our life do we tend to do that? And the answer is we do it everywhere. Because we rarely bring our full attention into anything. But we can train the attention to do that. We can train to bring our full attention into anything as a matter of habit. Starting with our conversations with people. Starting with our creative pursuits, all right? Starting with anything at all. So there's a story that I'd like to share. And then we'll do a little activity on. There's a story of a group of famous musicians. And these musicians were asked to give a performance. And it turned out to be a very, very rainy day in a very remote part of this kingdom. Why they always have kingdoms, I don't know, but there's kingdoms. And they go there for this 8 o'clock performance, and there's like nobody there. It's like 4 or 5 people. And they're wondering, should we cancel the performance? There's nobody here. We wasted our time. And these are the kind of thoughts that are going through their head, right? We're not going to accomplish anything here. No one's going to, there's just a few people here. And they're going back and forth, and finally the leader of the group says, no, it doesn't matter who's here. Said, we need to give our best effort. And so they take the lead from the lead musician and they really get into it. And they become oblivious of who's there. And they deliver one of the most fantastic performances of their lifetime for 4 people. And at the end of the performance, someone comes up to them, and it turns out to be the king of the kingdom. It was one of the 4 people in the audience. And he said, "Your performance so moved me that I want you to become now the court musicians for the kingdom." You get the drift. First of all, there's a couple of metaphors here. First of all, the important thing was to do our best, no matter what the circumstances are, no matter who is listening or present, because there is a power within us that is listening. So no matter how trivial the task, learning how to give our best attention to that task is daunting, but necessary. But after a while, it becomes effortless and graceful to give your full attention completely to every task that you do, even if it's just tying your shoelaces. Even. I'll tell you a little story about my encounter with my spiritual teacher. He was giving a talk in front of maybe 5,000 people. This is in India. And India is not like the West, let's put it that way. And while he was giving a talk, a serpent, it was actually a deadly serpent, all right, cobra, came right up on the dais, right next to him, and lifted its head like it was going to strike. There's a huge gasp, in the crowd. People were trying, oh, we've got to kill this, get this cobra out of here. Not only dangerous for him, but for everybody else. And my teacher said, no. Completely told everyone to absolutely do nothing. And he gave not only the talk, but gave the talk to the cobra with the same attention, even more so than he gave everybody else. True story, okay? So that's an example of what I mean by giving our full attention, no matter what the circumstances are that come up in our life. And when you break down our lives into little segments, you see it's one little small task after the other that we're either present for or we're not present for. Another way of looking at it, open one drawer at a time and close it. Don't open 4 or 5 drawers. Open one drawer at a time and close it. So the lesson learned here under all of this is not only give your best attention, everyone, but do one thing at a time. And that's the best meditation class that you'll ever get. One thing at a time, and give your best attention and even passion for that. So I wanted to invite my wife Tamir, who is a performing artist, to share a little snippet from the CD called Way of the Heart, which is kind of connected to this. Tamir?
We have to give up our unresolved grief and all our little desires, though we often get entangled in them. And that, of course, is our predicament. Tell me, has anyone here ever heard of Mullah Nasruddin? No? That wonderful proverbial wise man of the East? Well, anyway, Mullah one day was riding his horse when suddenly a snake appeared in the road and spooked the horse. The horse started galloping at full speed ahead in the direction it wanted to go. As he approached the intersection, a friend saw him there and called out, "Hey, Mullah, where are you going at such a speed?" Mullah cried out, "Don't ask me, ask my horse!" Sometimes we feel like that when we're being dragged and pulled by the demons of distraction in 100 different directions. We feel that our life is out of control. And in reality it is. Because it's pulling us away from who we really are. But one day, God willing, we wake up and find that another force has come into our lives. When that power begins to pull us towards the divine, we find that all these little desires don't satisfy us anymore. Only real love can fulfill us. Because in the way of the heart, we need an all-consuming passion. But who is ready to wake up to this? Who gets up early to discover the moment light begins? Who finds us here circling, bewildered like atoms? Who comes to a spring thirsty and finds the moon reflected in it? The breeze at dawn has secrets to tell you. Don't go back to sleep. You must ask for what you really want. Don't go back to sleep. People are going back and forth across the doorsill where the two worlds touch. The door is round and open. Don't go back to sleep. Rise up nimbly and go on your strange journey to the ocean of meanings. Don't wait any longer. Leave and let the sea be you. The spring knows it can't stay on the mountain. Leave. And don't look away from the sun, in whose light you're sometimes crescent, sometimes full. Those who don't feel this love pulling them like a river. Those who don't drink dawn like a cup of spring water, or take in sunset like supper. Those who don't want change, let them sleep. And sleep. In the early morning hour, just before dawn, lover and beloved wake and take a drink of water. Some nights, stay up till dawn, as the moon sometimes does for the sun. Do that, and a spring will rise in the dark and water your deepest thirst. Be a full bucket pulled up the dark way of a well, then lifted up into the light.
Thank you, Samir.
So, yeah, some nights stay up till dawn, right? You have to have that passion to bring that passion back into our lives in whatever we do. And that's where we step into that one-pointed attention and that being able to give our best to everyone in every situation. And I think that's really the definition of being human. Or whatever the circumstances, you rise to the occasion to give your very, very best to that circumstance, that situation, and that person. So, I'm going to do something a little bit different. We're not going to do brainstorming. We're going to do a little more interactive, and because this, I think, requires us could be a little bit more fun, too. So what I'd like you to do is you could go back to your groups of 3 or 4, any way you want to break it up, and what I'd like you to do is this time. I'd like you to come up with little scenarios, right? Some role plays. We comfortable with that? Your group. This is such a great group that I can throw anything at you, and I know you're gonna do it. So, simple role plays where we don't actually give our best or where we get distracted. All right, and not you personally. So you work in groups of 3, and you create a little mini role play of some of the more typical scenarios that we see unfolding in our lives, whether personally or in other situations. And then let's act out a couple of them, because when you see them, it drives the point home. So, questions about that? Little role plays that demonstrate, enact places where we are bifurcated, where we're multitasking, where we're not fully present, and as a result, things don't really work out, right? Exact opposite of being fully present and of bringing our full attention and our full focus into every situation. Is this too challenging for us after lunch? It'll get you moving anyways. So why don't we step into your groups, in any group, if you want to, big, small groups, but I think at least 3, maybe 4, and just brainstorm a scenario and give yourselves all little parts in this and be creative, all right, and have fun with it. And in about 5 or 6 minutes, we'll come back and let's see what magnificent theatrical geniuses you all are, all right? Okay, so we're going to come back here and share some of these wonderful scenarios from you, and I guess we're going to wait for your leader? Yeah, your leader. It's Leslie, right? Okay. Oh, there you are. So you guys are ready? I'm just going to step aside here and we will all enjoy. All right?
Yeah, can we make it like a square?
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm setting the stage. I'm setting the stage for you. This is my family. I've made a decision that we are going to have dinner once a week as a family, so we can talk about our day, so we can be present with one another. Okay? This is my mother. This is my son, my 14-year-old. This is my daughter, who's 16, and this is my other daughter, who's 12 or 14. This is a television.
Okay.
All right. This is my kitchen. Okay. Everyone, it's time for dinner. Come on down.
It's not now. I'm in the middle of something.
I'm sorry.
Later.
This is the day that we agreed that we're going to have dinner together and be present, and
Where are we having
we're going to be a family. Okay.
I want to watch
Just
Jeopardy.
hold on. I want you guys to think about
I
something.
can't hear it.
I want you to think about. I'm going to pose a question to you. I want you to think about how was your day, and then get back to me and tell me how your day was. I'll prompt you for the question. Okay.
Mom, did you finish the permission slip?
Wait a second, I'm texting my friend.
Leslie, it's not working.
So Kayan, how was
I'll
your day?
respond to this email.
Kayan, how was your day? Kayan, how was your day?
Can we wait? I'm
Wait.
talking to my friend.
Before you answer me, I have to go over here and I have to wash
Mom, the
dishes.
permission
Turn water.
slip. The permission slip was due yesterday. I'm
What?
gonna get
I'm
this
sorry.
over the permission
Mom, this is
slip.
important.
I don't want to have chicken. I hate chicken.
Are you using my recipe?
Honestly, wait, hold
I
on.
want
What
to
did-
taste the chicken.
What did you say? What did you
The
say?
permission slip
What
was
did-
due yesterday.
what kind of chicken
I'm
is
not
it?
gonna be able to go on the field trip.
What? Hold on. What was that?
Mom, can you get the permission slip? And I need a check too. I need a check for $100 or I can't go.
I think I have to leave my friend in her.
Oh
Oh,
Friend is waiting for me to run
That was good. She shut down at the end.
home. Put the earplug.
When in doubt, join them.
Good job.
Pretty self-explanatory. But that's the challenge, right? That's the challenge. So we have to think about how we're going to deal with that, right? When you go back, what are you going to do? No answers yet. Let's our next bold group here, right?
Really?
We did the same thing.
Oh, you did a lot of this. Encore then.
Hey, that's good.
More simple.
Yeah, I know. Well, we can keep going. We'll improvise. Yeah.
Watch, if I make a chicken. Not now, but a chicken.
Is that the stage? No, it just seemed like a little more space if we could kind of enter and move around a little bit.
That's fun.
Hey, I'm the dad. You're the mom.
I'm a kid.
And these are the kids.
Okay, well, we're gonna be over here.
You go.
And I just got home. And man, what a day. Nobody returned my calls.
Hey, honey,
I've
can you
been
please
busting
go out and
my.
get the mail, please? I'm really worried about some of our
Mom,
bills.
what's
You're
for dinner?
I thought we were gonna go out to
Let
dinner.
me finish what I was saying.
Baseball game,
Honey, the
and
mail. I
then we
really
stopped
need
to
to
see
see
the
the
mail.
Did you guys do your homework yet?
What did you say? No, not homework. Set the table, please.
No, no,
I thought we were going out to dinner. Well, and could you please get them in?
I already got the mail. Did you see it? I left it right there in front of you.
Never mind,
Right
never
there in
mind.
front of
I'll do
you.
it
You just
myself.
don't
I'll
pay
do it myself.
attention. Nobody listens to me anymore.
You don't have to go if you don't want. Oh, so, great minds think alike, right? I said great minds all think alike. So, that's the challenge, right? You get into these situations where your attention is being pulled in 100 different directions. And how do you stay focused? So, to continue our brainstorming session, why don't we think about what are the things that work that help us stay focused? And that keep the passion alive in what we want to do. Two things. So we're talking about what helps us keep the focus, keep the focus. In those very amazingly difficult situations, what do you do? Nobody's paying attention. Nobody's really present to anybody, right? And everybody is going in seemingly different directions with no common focus, aim, or goal, right? And everybody's distracted. So what do we do in that? But using that as our foil for this exercise, what do you do with that? Using that as the beginning point. And then let's share back some of the success stories that we have had that changed the perspective in that situation. All right? So take a minute, go back to your groups. What? Theatrics is over, now the hard work is back. And think of what has worked in the past, or what you have seen work.
We already went through that.
Doesn't mean that you've always been successful at it. But in those moments of glory, right, that you've seen work in others, that have happened in your own situation. And we'll use that as our starting point, okay? That help us maintain focus, stay connected, and not bifurcated, and not going in a dozen different directions. Whether you've seen it in yourself or whether you've seen it in others, like the example I gave of my spiritual teacher under that circumstance. So what works? And what are the strategies that work? And it could be just a way of thinking about situations, or it could be a way of acting differently. Right? So let's take another 5 minutes. Maybe, hopefully, right?
Turn off the noise.
Turn off the noise, okay.
Just for a short time, for like 20 minutes at a time. Like at a designated, like say you're having a meal.
Okay.
Now, I'm guilty. We put on the TV to watch the news. How bad is that? We're sitting there eating and watching the news. No wonder we don't have good digestion.
Right.
But I mean, we could turn off that.
Right.
We could play music.
Yeah, no, it's like everywhere you go, there's the TV there.
Sports bars.
Restaurants. I mean,
Yes.
the next thing they'll have it in front of you on your table.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah,
true.
yeah.
That's true. The whole
So,
world is
turn off you come and write up yours, so everyone can write a couple up there. Actually, you could be our scribe. There you go.
The other one we talked about is
Turn off the noise. Very good. Excellent. Wonderful. Yeah.
put, especially because a lot of it revolves around, dinner time and so on, is ask everybody to put the electronics in a bucket, some basket, something that says, okay, shut off time, no ringers, no silent mode, no vibrate mode, just off.
Oh,
One basket for 1 hour
right.
so you can connect.
A powerful first step, no doubt. Yeah.
And put structures in place, like a family dinner several times a week, that becomes the new expectation, that there's downtime, that you're gonna all meet at the dinner on Tuesdays and Thursdays or whatever.
Creating the ritual
Yeah.
around a new kind of behavior. It used to be that when people came to a dinner, that's what actually happened. People actually came, and it was a moment of communion, not just communication, but communion, where you really connect, and that whole ritual has been lost through fast food economics. And we don't know how to do that anymore. We're losing it. So you have to actually recreate the ritual for this generation. For the X generation, millennial generation, that ritual has to be recreated. I don't think they've ever really got it.
But
that's
you also have to
actually
set
what
the
you
example.
do when you sit down, right?
You have to set the example, though.
And
You
you-
can recreate the ritual, of course, but you have to set the example.
Set the example, absolutely.
I love listening to my iBooks on my iPhone when I'm cooking. And one of the ways to be present is when someone does have something to say to you, stop, put everything down, and listen.
That's a
So
good example.
set an example.
That's a very powerful example, actually giving your full attention to someone when they're talking, and they know you have their full attention. On that theme, I just want to add that when we don't complete a conversation, when there's what I call incompletion-itis disease, all right, which is a very deeply rooted disease, that conversation doesn't end. The string of that person pulling your attention does not stop because it never completed itself. And so they're still holding on to you in their own way because that conversation has never ended, right? So completing the conversation, being fully present, and bringing closure to that moment is something that we learn through someone who shows us how to do it, and then we emulate that by doing it ourselves. And the place from which I'm coming from in that is what some people call people have said active listening skills. Who is that have been? Yeah, okay, active listening skills. But this is much deeper. This is conscious and compassionate listening skills, where you are really listening from here, not from the head, but you're listening because you want to be present with that person. And that's a skill that is developed. But once it's developed, it becomes graceful and easy, and you're always just naturally giving your full attention because that's the only thing you've learned how to do is to be fully present with that person. And even if some 10 people are waiting for your attention, they don't get anything until you're done. And what we have a tendency to do is to go to the loudest or to the most annoying distraction first and then take our attention off. So that in itself, if we do nothing but that, is just learn how to keep your attention, finish the conversation to completion and closure for every little thing, even if it's a small conversation, is incredibly powerful and actually a beautiful quality in people who have it. And you feel actually loved. You feel cared for, because nobody does that.
You know what else
So, yeah.
reminds me of like feedback loop of communication?
Mm-hmm.
You know how you can look at someone and go like this, you don't have to talk and they know that you're engaged.
Right.
I think today we have to say something because the nod doesn't get them because they're looking down.
Yeah.
No, I mean,
Yeah, right.
The
right.
body language is gone.
Right.
Because it's like this now.
Right.
So when I learn communication, it's like a feedback loop. It's a
Right.
continual listener, speaker, message, keep it going. Well, if you try to engage your kids and you're the example, like say they're talking about a new book, oh, I read that book in high school. And then you start, so they heard that you read that book. And they want to hear more of what you thought about the book. You just go, yeah, fine, okay.
So continue the feedback.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Which keeps the conversation alive, and you know you have their attention in that conversation. So that's great. What else?
We have solitude, seeking solitude on our list, whether at work it's going to the restroom for 5 minutes or at home going to the closet.
What did you call
Solitude.
it? Just solitude?
Yeah.
The practice of
Just, you know,
solitude.
finding
Practice.
5 minutes, which might go along with turning off the
Practice of
noise.
silence.
This is turning off the inner noise
Yeah.
as well. Yeah. So we need that. We need that space to download and just to be alone for a minute, or 2 or 5 or 10, and process what's happening to us throughout the day. And if you don't get that, if there's a constant pull on your attention all the time, it's like you gradually lose the ability to respond fully. You don't have enough energy left to respond. You need to recharge and sit back and recoup from that. Yeah.
We have a crazy strategy at home. I have 3 girls, and the middle one's difficult. The other 2 are easy. So there's a lot of commotion going on at home because they're girls and they talk a lot and they're busy and it's just crazy. I'm like the dog and the gecko and guinea pig and
The gecko,
whatever.
you said?
Yeah.
Oh, very good.
And so it's busy. And so my husband likes it to be quiet. And when they're all difficult together, nothing gets solved. So he came home one day from work, and he gave them all a difficult day. So Wednesday you can be difficult, Tuesday you can be difficult, and Friday you can be difficult. So before you start with any of that, check the calendar. So what's really great about it is the other two that would normally not say anything because the pain in the neck has always got the floor. So it allows them to say what they want on their day, or to have an issue, or to be focused on. So it's really, I thought he was crazy when he came home with it, but it's, you know, it's fairly new, but it's working great, because they're like, oh, I got the, and then the other one go, it's not your day. So figure it out. It's my day. You have to be good today. So it's really easy when you only have one child in conflict. It's like you can manage it. You can hear that child, you can speak to them, you can address it. But when you have this and this, it's really hard, and they don't get full attention. So it's like really going well so far. And they take responsibility for their day, and they also problem solve themselves. And then two of them will work together if it's not their day. They're not allowed to be.
Good.
Beautiful.
It's
And
interesting.
you're demonstrating this thing we're going to talk a lot about tomorrow, which is flexibility
Yeah.
and adjustment. Looking for creative solutions in the moment that work. Yeah, someone's going to say something.
So the other two get to listen to
Yeah.
the other one.
Yeah, and they offer
The
suggestions
one who
and
has the
everything.
day.
It's kind of like a game.
That's pretty cool.
for
But
them,
they're also learning how to.
Yeah, and to be patient, and to be patient. It's, you know.
You created your own ritual around it,
Yeah.
with your own rules.
It's creative. I'm like, what day is mine?
Yeah, right.
How come I didn't get a day? What? I need three. But
Did the dog get a day?
oh no, the dog is just pleasant.
Oh,
Yeah. So it's
That's
I don't know, it's the craziest thing.
So flexibility, but also creating a ritual around a way to give attention to everybody.
And everybody be heard, and everybody
Everybody be heard.
problem solve, and learn how to handle things themselves.
It's amazing what we can come up with when we put our minds to things.
Yeah.
right?
It's
And just think
too
creatively
confusing,
about it.
and no one was getting satisfied. So
How old are your daughters?
interesting. I have a 6, I have an 8, and almost a 9. So they're talky, they're busy, I also have a sick daughter, so it's even a little bit trickier.
Wonderful idea. Anyone else just pop in?
One of the points that we came up with was conscious eye contact as a way of establishing connection.
Definitely. And that's part of that compassionate listening skill. How to connect with the person. It doesn't mean you're staring at them all the time, but you make a connection with them. You know, that you're present and you're listening and you're giving them the notice that you're there on a moment-to-moment basis. Very, very powerful and very seldomly done. That's why it's so powerful. Yeah.
And I've been stopping lately. I've read this years ago. My daughter didn't react to it, but my younger son, if I actually like get down on his level and get the eye contact that way, but also just you're giving him your full attention, and you're kind of on his level, he really responds to that. He feels heard.
And because you're coming down to communicate with
Exactly.
them. at the-
Otherwise, you're looking down.
Yeah, it's better to come down.
Any thoughts on creating that passion in the moment for whatever you're doing? What helps with that?
Your expression,
Okay. Expression.
if you're happy, you know, share that.
Okay.
You know,
Communicate your emotions.
yeah,
and
tell me,
what
I
happened.
love this
Okay.
because
Okay.
that makes me happy, or that makes me, instead of saying no, do the other one.
Right. So yes.
Yeah, say, thank you, instead of don't. So,
Good.
share.
I mean, the object here is to develop strategies that work for you, that bring you fully back into whatever you're doing without the distractions, so that you can be fully there. And so whatever it takes, and it's going to be different for different people, but I think, you know, we can start with doing one thing at a time as a golden rule about anything, and no matter what you're. And then the second thing is finish it. Start it and finish it, so that there's a closure to that event or activity or conversation or whatever you're doing, so that you feel there's a completion to that
and then you can move on. You can place your attention somewhere else without it gnawing in the back of your head that you haven't really finished that conversation. So that's it. And then bringing the passion back into whatever you're doing, I think, is really about quality effort. And just before I go into that, were there any other comments that we wanted to add to this suggestion board on? Yeah.
Just one more point we came up with was the ability to be able to witness yourself in the act of not being present.
Oh, right. That's major. So catching yourself as you're moving out of that center, right? And being able to say, okay, I'm going in the wrong direction. So we talk about emotional self-awareness, which is really what that's about, emotional self-awareness. And being able to notice your mental and emotional states before we are blown away by them. And that's really what mindfulness is all about. It's about being in the moment so that you're conscious of the trends of your thought and emotion before they whip up into a storm. It was like early detection system. You know what's going on. And we need that. We need to know, and that's really, there's mindfulness of the body, mindfulness of the emotions, of the mind, and mindfulness of who we are, and all of that's part of it. So, anyone else? Yes?
I just want to add humor.
Yes.
Humor, it really can make people realize how ridiculous they are. Especially kids, they respond to it. Like when they're yelling and saying all these things, or talking about all these things, and you just go, oh my God, I forgot this was your world. Oh, there's nobody else. I don't have any other children. That's right. And then it makes them trigger, and they're like, oh, you know what I mean, or something like that. Or you love her more than I'm like, yeah, it's Tuesday. That's right. I love her more today. And they'll be like, oh, like it just cuts their edge, and it just settles things down so that you can stay focused on one thing. And kids respond to humor because they're kids. And they're
I think
happy
adults
and they're
do
simple.
too.
I think adults
Well, it
do,
depends
too.
on the adult.
Yeah, it does depend on adults. But humor is always an antidote to an over-anxious ego.
So good.
And it gets us not take everything so seriously.
Right.
And so we don't get caught up in the whirlpool of our self-righteous thoughts all the time.
That's
And how the world is
exactly.
treating us so horribly. And so on and so forth. Yeah, wonderful. Yeah, so humor. Anything else that came out of that? Yeah.
You know, when I was reading Speak at Your Level, you were thinking of, getting down to the level of the child. Also speak at the language of the child.
And speak the language, absolutely.
They don't really understand some of the consequences of.
And of course, goes with adults too.
Oh,
Because
yeah.
we are all children in big bodies, really. Sure. And that's one of the things as we mature, we realize that age is not a matter of, I put it this way, wisdom is not a matter of age. It's a matter of learned experience. So we all get experience. Some of us learn from it, and some of us don't. And when we don't learn from it, we get the same lesson again. And again, and again, and again, until we get it. And that's just the nature of the process of what happens in our lives. So learning from the experience by being present to the opportunity that is in front of you. And so if we're not paying attention, which is another way of saying be here now, right? You're not paying attention. Then what happens is the lesson goes, we didn't see it, it comes back in this time much harder. And the goal is to be in a place where everything is your teacher.
Where everything
Is your teacher. And everything is a teaching. And you are learning in the moment, moment to moment. Which is an incredible place to be, because it doesn't matter what is coming to you. Everything is an opportunity for growth. Everyone is seen as an opportunity for growth. One of the lines that I think Shakespeare was like a channel for the higher self in many of his plays, little tidbits. And he has a beautiful line, he says, and this is really talking about this. When we're in that present state, and we're really paying attention to what's happening, everything becomes a teaching and a teacher. He says there are tongues in trees, books in running brooks, sermons in stones and good in everything. So that is a question of perspective. He's giving us a new way to look at what is happening to us in the moment.
Repeat that, please.
Yeah, it's in the curriculum.
Oh, okay.
It's all there, most of it, but it's there. But I'll repeat it again. It is tongues in trees, books in running brooks, sermons in stones, and good, the most important line, and good in everything. He didn't say just the good things, he said good in everything. And that's that place where we're so present, where we're learning whatever's happening is still a learning experience for us. And that actually has the additional result of making you even more present. Because you want to miss the teaching that's going to happen in the next moment. And the moment after that. And so on and so forth. So it brings a quality of awareness, a heightened awareness into every moment that you're alive, which is, when we're talking about hospice, volunteers, we're talking about when you're in the presence of someone who has very little time left on this planet, that's where they are. They recognize the preciousness of the moment and the preciousness of life and how fragile life is. And therefore, every moment is precious for them. There's no frivolity left. There's humor, there's no frivolity. There's lightheartedness, but there's no silliness. There's no wastage. And that's the kind of lesson that we learn when we're fully in that moment. So I wanted to share that experience. In changing perspective, I outlined 4 things, and we've got them all here, and I'm just going to kind of summarize from another meta point of view. So first of all, is sincerity of intention. We've got to want this. So sincerity means that actually we get what we really want anyways. We just are not too sure what we're asking for sometimes. So we have to be very careful about what we want. And we have to really make sure that what we want is really what we want. And that when we want it, we have a sincerity of intention. So it is said that God gives us whatever we really want. And so whatever the direction of our thoughts are on a daily basis, that's really where we're going to end up. So we have to be careful what we're thinking. So if our thoughts are headed in the direction that we want to go, then we're going to go there. And that's just the law of the universe. So we have to constantly say, am I going in the direction I want to go? Is this really what I want? And if it's what I want, then let me give it my fullest and complete attention in whatever it is that I'm doing. And not try to bifurcate my attention in so many ways. And out of that comes quality effort. Whether we're trying to be a good mother, or whether we're trying to do a creative pursuit, or whether we're giving a talk or a seminar, or video, whatever we're doing, we're going to give it our best effort. Because we really want to do it. We really want to do it. Our intention is there. If the intention is half-hearted, then, as I mentioned before, I think half-heartedness never reaches to majesty, never gets to sublimity. And let's just look at the life of any great artist, any great performer, any great athlete. There's a story of a great wrestler in India who is world-renowned for his wrestling abilities, and he won so many medals in India at the Olympics and so on and so forth. And they kind of interviewed him to figure out, well, how did this guy do it year after year after year after year? Well, it turns out the guy was working out like 24/7 for like 8 years. I mean, he never stopped. And even in the night, he would go out and work out near the Ganges River, and sometimes work out in the Ganges River throughout the night. So it's quality effort in any field and any endeavor that is going to pay results in whatever we're doing. And so we recognize that, we realize that that's really where life rewards action, rewards the quality effort that we put into everything. So if we're clear about what we want and we're putting in quality effort, then we need the patience to wait for the results to come. And so it's like the gardener who is planting and every 10 minutes digs up the seeds to see if they're growing. And that's kind of how we are. Oh, we want our results as of yesterday, right? I've been doing this for 3 months. How come I'm not, changing? The more we focus on the results, the less we're in the moment. And so the attention is divided between seeking results and actually doing the task, whatever the task is. So one way to approach whatever task you're doing is it worship. Look at it as worship. My teacher used to say, work is worship. Work is worship. It's the living manifestation of where you're putting your attention wholeheartedly. That's another name for worship. And the key that makes it worship is that you're not worried about the results. You do it for the sake of the activity, whatever it is. So, we're feeding our kids. Are we worried about thinking in the back of our head, oh, when I get to be 60 or 70 years old, I'm doing this because they're going to come back and take care of it? I don't think so. I really don't think so. Right? We do it out of love for children. So in the same way, we apply that same principle to whatever we're doing. And that helps bring the passion back into whatever we're doing. All right? Who are the people you remember in any field, in any art form, it's the people who brought passion to it and who brought their full understanding, their full commitment to that, right? And in that immersion that they brought, they get realizations and understandings that only come from that deep immersion in something, right? Someone goes and talks to someone and doesn't, there's nothing going on. Another person who has great communication skills and really listens, talks to the same person, and they tell them everything. Because of that person's communication skills, right? They have that ability to open someone's heart because their heart is open to them. And then another person comes in, dead silent. They don't want to say anything. The vibe is not there. So in whatever task that we're doing, we have to bring that quality attention, that full attention, the total attention, and it becomes a way of living. It becomes a way of life. It becomes a way of doing everything in the world, no matter how big or small the task is. And it just becomes habit. But it does take time to create it. But it works. And the beauty is that in doing that, the joy comes automatically. You don't have to ask for the joy to come. It comes automatically in the doing process, in the full commitment to the doing process. So there's a story, and this has to do with the second thing, the third thing, patience, and then the last thing, perspective. So a lot of times we have to change our perspective. We talked about this earlier. In any event that is happening, we have to look at life in a different way. So there's a story of a hurdler. It's two hurdlers. One of them was told that it was a 100-yard dash with hurdles. The other one was told it was a 100-yard dash, but didn't know that it was the hurdle race. So they both start off on the race in separate locations. And the one who was told that it was a hurdle race, when he sees the first hurdle, he's ready. He knows it's there. So he's getting into his rhythm, gets to the first hurdle, goes over it, a little bit of, a little awkward, but he's prepared, goes over it, sees the second hurdle, beginning to get into his flow. He's expecting, he knows it's coming. The second hurdle comes much easier. Now he's in that rhythm. He's actually paced it out. Third hurdle comes, and this guy doesn't even notice there's a hurdle anymore. It's just part of what he's doing is the hurdle race, and he's just incorporated that hurdle into this race. He doesn't even know it's there anymore. You could put anything there, but he's going to go over it. Other person who was not told it was a hurdle race sees the first hurdle there. He's getting very fearful, very anxious. Oh my God, there's a hurdle. What the heck is that doing here? Gets to the hurdle, almost stops dead in its track, but decides to give it a shot, goes over it, hits the knee, right? Gets over the hurdle, starts cursing the hurdle, the race, and anything else that comes to mind. Second hurdle comes. He's lost his balance, right? He's lost his flow. Second hurdle comes. He has to stop, go back, get the speed up, try to get over the hurdle, hits his knees again. Third hurdle, he quit the race. So,
life is a hurdle race. Some of us know their hurdles and prepare for them and are ready for them, and other people don't. And when they hit the hurdles, they get devastated. So expect it, because it's going to come. The hurdles are going to come, and they're not to be looked at as problems. They're gifts, they're challenges, they're hurdles to go over, to make you a better runner in this life. So changing our perspective about events as they're unfolding really is hugely, hugely important. Because most of the time our attitude to those things, what I call the changes in the curriculum that we thought went there, is resistance, and then you push it away, and then it becomes much worse by pushing it away, and then you don't learn the lesson, and then you're out of the moment, and then everything starts to go downhill. So changing our perspective about things and keeping that attitude of openness that, hey, this is just another learning journey for me. What am I supposed to learn in this situation? What's the teaching? Is where we're going. Okay, so let's take a few moments and just take some questions, revelations, answers, and then we'll conclude the session with just a short meditation. But questions, comments, realizations, answers?
Well, I don't know if this is a question but we're having better tomorrow, but how do you make it stick? It all sounds fine right now. And it's, yeah, I got it. Okay, he's right.
How do you make it stick? Right, how do you make it happen?
And then we'll go back to the dinner table and, hey, shut down the light. So,
I love that
to
question.
dinner, you know, the whole thing happens.
I love that question, because that's what it's all about. Let me direct you. Not now, but do it when you, in the evening, to fill out the exercise number 6, which is about narrowing in and focusing, and to really set some goals for yourself. Goal setting is a proven kind of scientific method for getting things done. So you have to, when you leave this retreat, when you leave Kripalu, you got to narrow down what you want to do, what part of this you want to take with you, and actually create change. And you've got to put it into practice. And you've got to monitor the practice, all right? And that's how it's going to become part of your life. It's not going to happen by just walking away here and forgetting about it. You've got to take the best of what you can from here, see the things that you think have a possibility of working in your life, and then actually put them into practice and monitor them and create the habit. And it'll take 30, 40 days on any of these things that we've talked about. That 30, 40 days is your investment in yourself. That's the investment in yourself. That you are sincere enough to want to make this happen. Because nobody can make it happen except you. Right? You follow what I'm saying? So when you go home, you're going to look at all of this material and you're going to say, okay, what makes sense for me that could work in my lifestyle, that could create the change that I'm looking for to be more mindful? And don't take 10 or 15 things. Take 1 or 2. And work on them until you see them starting to work. Right? Most obvious place to start is what we just said. Do one thing at a time. Be here now. Remember? Be here now. That's step 1. Okay? And if you do nothing else but that, you're just focusing on doing one thing at a time and being present in that by doing one thing at a time, amazing, amazing doors will open. Amazing doors. Not like we have to do a lot. All right? It's we have to do a few things really, really well. And everything else gets added onto it. Does that help?
Yeah.
Send me an email in 30 days. I'm serious. Send me an email. Okay.
When we did exercise 4, which was listing the condition or self-limiting beliefs, was that just the first step, acknowledgement? Is that what the purpose? Because you said there were 2 things, and I only got the first one. You said identify self-limiting beliefs that prevent us from restricting, and then there was.
Okay. Yeah, and I think tomorrow we can kind of go over the step, right? What I call the 6 principles of transformation. And this is actually in the book Light of Hand, right? And I've touched upon some of them here. And we've gone over them a little bit in a little bit of a haphazard way. But
to go over them quickly in their order, just to reinforce it, is first of all, you gotta want to change. Number one. Because if you don't want to change, you're not going to change. So that's that sincerity of intention. 2, you identify the behavior, the characteristic that you want to work on. Specifically. Okay, impatience, all right? Bifurcated attention, multitasking, always regretting the past or fearing the future. Choose one, all right? Start with one. Then identify the circumstances in which that behavior manifests. The most. It may manifest in many places, but where are the triggers to that state, that emotional state? Because there are triggers for everything. That's the tape loop that you're going to try to remove, right? That's the tape loop. Next step. What are the underlying toxic beliefs that are supporting that behavior that we are unaware of and we ought to bring to the light of our consciousness? Because there's underlying toxic beliefs that are supporting that behavior. Otherwise, we would have dropped it long ago. Look at the toxic belief, replace it with something positive that makes sense in terms of what you want to accomplish. Then, rescript the scenario by looking at where you have been successful in the past as the basis for the future. Because you want to build on the positive in your life. A lot of people overanalyze, and they spend their whole time just looking at all their negative characteristics, and they never get out of the can of worms. What we're doing is we're refocusing, we're learning the art of refocusing by focusing on the positive and taking your attention off the negative. So long as you keep thinking about the negative and analyze, you don't need much time there. You noticed it, you're aware of it, now focus on the positive and rescript it in your head. Literally, you might want to write it down exactly how you're going to act, think, and behave in that way. And look at the 10 rules of reality making, all right, to support what you're doing. You're going to create this reality because you're creating your own reality anyways. You are the reality maker. Nobody's creating your reality other than you, all right? It's your choice to create your reality. And now you're going to act like a conscious human being and actually choose to create the reality you want. Hey, one way or another, you're going to create reality. Why not choose the one you want, all right? Instead of defaulting into the tape loops that take us nowhere, right? And then the last piece is surrender it all and realize you're not the doer. And ask for some guidance. And that last piece is the spiritual part. Surrender it all. Let it go. And realize there are some things that you just have to be patient with, right? So that's the step-by-step process. And there are steps within those steps, too, but those are the steps that you have to take. And it's, look, sounds like a lot. It's not. If you want it, you get it. You get what you really want in this lifetime. No doubt about that. And that's where that purity of intention comes. So, and we can go over more of that later. Does that kind of put them in steps?
Yeah.
Okay, great. All right, so let's end with a little sitting here for like 2 or 3 minutes. And bring all of this good energy, this amazing insight, and your amazing presence and listening attention here, which all of you have like amazing ability to be present, and give yourself a big hug on the inner. You can turn the light off. Yeah, sorry about that. And just close your eyes very gently, as if you're going to sleep. And then bring your attention back to that center between your 2 eyes, middle of your forehead. We call that the inner eye of spiritual perception. This is the point at which we connect. These 2 worlds connect, spirit and matter. This is the point where we venture into, as Rumi said, through to me, the ocean of needs that is within you. And just look into the center of that field of awareness. And you can repeat, if you feel comfortable, any name of divinity or anything that resonates with your higher attention as an affirmation of who you are. And if any thoughts come, just let them come and go. Just notice them, but just keep that presence there. So just moment-to-moment awareness. No judging, no analyzing, no critiquing, just presence. And I'll bring it out in maybe 3 or 4 minutes. So let us begin. Thank you very much. Blessings from everybody.
Gunjo